Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna go briefly into. I was born and raised in Mexico. I came when I was 15 years old. I came to the U.S. when I was 15 years old. Um, and I guess the background before I started real estate, because that's what I do now. I do real estate now. I'm a real estate agent. Before that, I was working at the bank industry,
Oh.
okay, in the financial industry.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of things had happened, throughout my life. So, a lot of ups and downs, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Awesome. Well, let's get into that story. You have a great story to share. So kind of share the story. How did you, end up essentially, you shared this before on LinkedIn, from homeless to now being a successful real estate agent. I don't know, you're a
Right.
broker too, but yeah, kind of share, how did you end up there to where you are now?
From homeless to home expert.
Exactly. Exactly.
So literally, what happened, I got pregnant at a very young age. I was 16 years old. So literally a year after I came from Mexico.
Gotcha.
I got pregnant, and then I stopped going to school, not for my, not because I didn't want to go to school, but because I was kept against my will. I don't really want to go into that because
Sure.
it's someone that I know. But anyways, so it was against my will.
Mhm.
I was very naive. I didn't know much. I didn't know better. So after months of begging that person to let me go, I decided to stay, and that's how I had another child. Okay.
Oh,
It was a very unhealthy relationship, and it took about 12 years for me to actually let that person go.
wow.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it was a on and off relationship kind of thing. But I always knew what I wanted, and I always knew what I was heading.
Mhm.
And the reason why I decided to leave my house and really go homeless was because of that, because I wanted my kids to
Gotcha.
be in a better relationship, in a more healthy
Right.
environment, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I made the decision to leave everything behind. And the reason why I didn't seek for help is because obviously he knew my family, he knew my close
Right.
friends. I didn't want to be found because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, if that makes sense.
Right.
So we lived in the car for a few days, until I heard on the radio station one time. I heard something about a safe haven, like
Mm.
a shelter.
Right.
So I called that number, and then that's how we were able to going from being in the car and not having an actual house, to go into a shelter. And since then, I didn't look back, and that was the end of the story for that relationship. Right after that, well, in the meantime, I was working at the bank.
Mhm.
Okay. I know a lot of people ask me, how, you working at the bank went through this.
Mhm.
My pride was so high. My pride was super high. And especially because when you're dealing with clients, you don't want to tell them what you're going through, right?
Right.
Hey, I'm showering at the gym. I'm living in the car. Like I'm literally, paying, or asking somebody to hold my kids for, while
Right.
I'm going to work. All these things. So my pride was really high, and really I never told anyone. When I was living in the shelter, probably close to the second month,
Mhm.
I actually opened up to one of my clients.
Mm.
This family used to be my regular clients. So they actually offer, when they find out, they're like, Maribel, how is it that you're living in a shelter? How is it that you don't have a house?
Mm.
All this. So I finally opened up to them, and they decided to help me.
Mhm.
So with their help, I was able to buy a house, my first
Wow.
house.
Wow.
Okay, so they actually gave me the down payment for the house.
Wow.
And then that's how that's how I started in the real estate journey, with my actual house. Which is that's what I really wanted at that time. That was my biggest goal.
Right.
Because I really wanted my kids to have a house. I wanted to have a house before the age of 25. So I had all these goals in my mind. Plus, I always knew I wanted better. And I always saw myself as successful. So I couldn't understand how my decisions, my bad decisions, took me to where I was at the moment.
Awesome. Well, that's a great story. I mean, there's probably a lot of details you could tell, but I know
Of
for
course.
short
Yeah.
length, but
So, and then from there, let me just jump, from that moment to right before I got into real estate.
Mhm.
So from there, obviously I got the house, we were living a happy life. My kids and I continued working at the bank. Long story short, I was taking care of my mother as well. And my mother had an open heart surgery. And my oldest daughter, she has epilepsy. And at that time, I was going through a lot of medical, well, not me, but my kids, my daughter and my mom, they were going through a lot of medical, situations.
Right.
They have medical conditions.
Mhm.
So my savings and my 401k got depleted because of that.
Mhm.
And I actually seek for help, but I guess because of my income, I didn't qualify for a lot of the things that,
Mhm.
the government offers and stuff and things like that. However, I actually needed help because being a single mother and taking care of my elderly mother, it was just tough. So I really had to pick my battles and make a decision whether to pay my bills on time or actually not pay my mortgage, and so that I can pay for the medication, right?
Mhm.
So the medication is about $1,500 a month, just the medication
Wow.
for my
Okay.
daughter.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's not generic medication and things like that. I've tried several things. Anyways, long story short,
Mhm.
that happened, and then I got ill because I got into a car accident. Then I got laid off. So savings and 401k got depleted, literally,
Mhm.
and I was within 60 days from losing my house again,
Mhm.
becoming homeless again.
Mhm.
And at the moment, I was like really mad at the bank that I used to work for because they couldn't help me. And I was actually mad at the bank that held my mortgage.
Mhm.
I'm not longer mad. It was just the moment, the emotions and everything,
Right.
because they just couldn't help me. And I get it, you need your credit for everything. So my
Right.
credit wasn't good because I wasn't paying my things on time and, you name it.
Mhm.
So that's the reason I decided to go into real estate, because I was mad at everything and I wanted to find all the ins and outs about real estate. I wanted to find out, how can I save my house? I'm not going to become homeless anymore. So I was like, I really had this sense of urgency to really succeed, because once again, I put myself at the edge, on the edge of becoming homeless again,
Uh-huh.
right? And so I had a lot of investors knocking on the door, and I was like, why is everyone knocking on the door and trying to get the house instead of trying to help me?
Uh-huh.
So that's how I decided to go into real estate, to actually save my house,
Mhm.
to make money for my kids, and also help other people who might be in the same situation. And that's literally how I got here.
Awesome. That's a great journey. So, I mean, in that story, there was a shift, right? I think
Correct.
you kind of explained, like when you saw, how you're about to lose the house, you don't want others to be in that. But the drive was there. What was the trigger? Like, what was the trigger for point for you? Like you said, no, I'm not going to let this happen.
Yes, remembering what I felt like sleeping in the car, having my kids at a very young age, and feeling like a failure because of what we had to go through. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think it was the best decision that I ever made, because I really had to leave that behind. However, as a parent, you don't want your kids to go through those things. You don't want your kids to go through, maybe living in the car, not having anything to eat or not having any clothes, because we just walked away without anything, literally anything.
Right.
No clothing or anything like that. So
Right. Awesome. Well, so yeah, you had an incredible journey. Obviously, you learned a lot of lessons, probably tips and tricks, that you
Correct.
learned along. What can you share? One tip that really has helped you, personal, professional life that can help others?
I've been very persistent every time. Every time I wanted anything, it doesn't matter what I wanted. I'm always very, very persistent. No matter what, I'm gonna get it, right? I understand that maybe not everyone is the same way. But I will say that what really kept me focused and continuing moving forward and leaving, everything behind was my vision, where I saw myself in the future. So always keeping my future and my, like the goal, how I saw myself in the future, how I wanted to see my kids, how I wanted to see myself, having multiple homes, not just one, but more than one, being able to help other people. So I saw myself as a very successful person. And I really feel like that image, that vision really kept me going. And that's the reason why I was able to be so persistent and regardless of the odds.
Awesome. That's a great, that's two tips, but yeah, that's a great two tips. Maribel, I'll post whatever links I have with Maribel. If you want to reach out to her, she's in DFW area, looking for a good realtor, great realtor, reach out to her. Especially with her passion, she'll probably help you with whatever you're looking for. Again, thanks, Maribel, for sharing your story and being on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.